anthrax spores. That was news to me.
Yeah, basically it does. And yeah, it's that thing that that's what I always say. We're talking about the Etruscans today, actually.
Yeah.
And like the Etruscans, like viruses and bacteriums, any outbreak of anything is not singularly done. For example, you look at the current pandemic, COVID. Well, people are dying of the flu, and it's all sort of put into the COVID figures, and people are dying of this and that, and it's all sort of people have got underlying illnesses and they're affected by COVID and so on. So if you look at that as a model, you could see that systematically when you look at something like these plagues in the past. It's never one thing that kills people. It's always a range of them, which weakens people's people altogether. So what I'm going to do today, we're going to look at the Etruscans. We have done the Etruscans before, but I thought I'm just going to take a stab. I've got some nice images, one or two you'll have seen before. I've got some nice text I'm going to look at. But what I wanted to do is just sort of start off with a few articles, and just sort of bring in what we do know or we don't know about the Etruscans by looking at some articles that I've got on the internet that I found today. So hang on a minute. Right, we had me twice then. Right, okay, so let's start off with some fairly recent finds in no particular order, and this goes back to 2016. And we're just going to do this initially as if you're just seeing this in the newspaper. So let's just have a look at this article, read through it, and shape up to see who these Etruscans are. So you're looking. This is from 2016. Now, if you don't know anything about the Etruscans, Sandra and I do, and there's a few of you who know about the Etruscans. So you're looking at this article from 2016, and it says one of the most significant Etruscan discoveries in decades names female goddess Uni. Now, why is that significant? It's a stone. It's a sandstone. There's carvings on it. One thing that we used to say about Etruscan civilization is that we couldn't really translate their language, and now we're slowly starting to translate their language. So I'm not going to tell you anything more about the Etruscans until we actually get through this article. So there's a stelae there. Stelae is a stone with carvings on it, whether they're whether they're writing or whether there's something else on there. So there we go. Piece of stone there. Did you reading this there? Archaeologists translating a very rare inscription on an ancient Etruscan temple stone have discovered the name Uni, an important female goddess. Why would this be important? Well, we're starting to translate Etruscan. We're starting to understand the Etruscan language. We're starting to know it. And this is the thing. Where did the Etruscans come from? Well, they come from Italy, but we'll tell you a little bit more about that soon. The discovery indicates that Uni, a divinity of fertility and possibly a mother goddess at this particular place, may have been the titular deity worshipped at the sanctuary of Poggio Cola. Where's Poggio Cola? Nice. A key settlement in Italy for the ancient Etruscan civilization. Think Tuscany. Think north of Rome. Now, I love the Etruscans because I love their art, but I want to do something different today. The mention is part of a sacred text. There is possibly the longest such Etruscan inscription ever discovered on stone. Scientists on the research discovered the ancient stone embedded as part of a temple wall of Poggio Cola, an excavation where many other Etruscan objects have been found, including a ceramic fragment with the earliest birth scene in European art. That's rather interesting. That object reinforces the interpretation of a fertility cult of Poggio Cola. This slab, being half a ton in weight, called a stelae, started to translate it. It's very rare to identify the god or goddess worshipped an Etruscan sanctuary. The thing is, with the Etruscans, they became one of the preeminent civilizations in Europe, but they were whipped away and wiped away by the Romans. The Etruscans were more arty, more sort of Greek in their sort of outlook. I don't think that's a fair word to use, but they were less warlike. They were able to work and trade throughout the Mediterranean for generation after generation. We're talking just under 3,000 years ago. It was one of these civilizations that could have been like Rome, or could have been like Carthage, or could have been any civilization that rose and then went up against Rome, but it lost its way, and Rome took over this land of the Etruscans, painting that subtext. The location of its discovery, a place where prestigious offerings were made, and the possible presence in the inscription of the name Uni, as well as the care of the drafting of the text, which brings to mind the work of a stone carver who faithfully followed a model transmitted by a careful and educated scribe, suggests that the document had a dedicatory character. So document, stone, there it is, there she is. It is also possible that it expresses the laws of the sanctuary, a series of prescriptions relating to ceremonies that would have taken place. That stone is full of other inscriptions. It's said that they're trying to reconstruct the text, which consists of as many as 120 characters, with Uni being one identifiable set there. Well, archaeologists understand how Etruscan grammar works and know some of its words and alphabet key, my friends. They expect to discover new words never seen before, particularly since this discovery veers from others in that it's not a funerary text, it's a temple text. So, some nice, really nice stuff here. And there's that stone. Besides being possibly the longest Etruscan inscription on stone, it is also one of the 3 longest sacred texts to date. And there you go. It refers to a deity referred to as Tina. That could be the equivalent of Greece's Zeus or Rome's Jupiter. So whenever you come across Tina, you can say that it sort of relates to this land of the Etruscans. Could have read a little bit more about that, but what I wanted to do is just sort of tease you into the Etruscans. There we go. Permanent Etruscan inscriptions are rare, as Etruscans typically use linen cloth books or wax tablets. Very little of that has survived. So some of the stone has. The texts that have been preserved are quite short and are from graves, thus funerary in nature. We can at this point affirm that this discovery is one of the most important Etruscan discoveries of the last few decades, but we have more. We do. We have more discoveries that we can actually look at. So here we go. Do you know what? I was looking at this, and I know we did this as part of an article of the week where they uncovered an almost intact Etruscan tomb. Look at all that there. Look at these wonderful images, which we will come into after the break. Actually, if I can get one of these images up on the screen, is it going to come up? Maybe not. Hang on, we'll just let that come up a minute. Oh, here we go. I know I showed you this image a while ago. If it comes up on the screen, it's a bit slow. Come on, don't let me down. There, look at that. And the one thing when I look at the art and I look at the world of the Etruscans is the way they actually portrayed life. They portrayed life in death, as if death was life, as if living was death, and it was two interconnected worlds where the underground world of the Etruscans was the same world that they lived, and it's a world of family, and it's a world of worshiping those ones that had gone before. However, I didn't want to do that take today. What I wanted to do was look at the Etruscans in a slightly different way. Right, so what we got up on the screen now is another little bit of an article, right? Genetic clues about the Etruscans. And then that led me on to this little article here, which should come up quickly. This led me looking at the stelae, right? And I know we've just done that, right? But it gives a little bit more detail. There's the stelae, the one that we just mentioned being excavated. So what we didn't have earlier on was a date, right? So this dates from about the 500s, 550 years BC, shed light on the still mysterious Etruscan language, but it's slowly being unpuzzled. All those little stitches being unstitched. So here we go. This now we know. This is in an early stage. Now we've got 120 at that stage. As they were looking at the stone, there was only 70. So it's talking about where this site is. It's northeast of Florence at Poggio Cola. And the inscription is divided into words by means of 3 vertical aligned dots. So it's possible to identify some of the word forms in the text. so when they've started looking at it, what they've done is to what we've already seen is an adaptation of this article here. So just some little facts there, which I want to chuck into. Then we look at the genetic study of who these Etruscans are, and then we can look at a load of images and we can go through some nice text. One of antiquity's greatest enigmas, the Etruscans. You know, the Etruscans. It's so odd that we've got these people that were so forward in the word backwards world that Rome developed. So if we think about the Etruscans starting to really develop about 800 years BC, 2,800 years ago, Rome didn't exist. Rome never happened. Rome at that stage hadn't existed. Rome doesn't exist until the fateful year of 753 years BC. Aberbe Condidar at the foundation of our city of Rome. But we're not doing the Romans, we're doing the Etruscans. And they dominated not just Italy, but much of that known part of Europe. And there it is for 5 centuries. It's a very important people. But by around 300 to 100 years BC, that's when the Etruscans are falling to the wayside with the great war between Carthage and Rome. They were absorbed into the Roman Empire. Their non-Indo-European language eventually died out. So it was a language that we don't really understand. As we don't really understand it, we're starting to get to grips with it. And we've obviously got this funeral inscription that we're talking about. So this next article I just jumped into, and I just thought, right, this was interesting. This actually dates from September the 29th, 2021, where the other articles dating to 2016. So again, back to Florence. There we go, Florence. And in Florence, they examined DNA collected from 82 people unearthed at 12 archaeological sites from central and southern Italy, and the remains range in date from 2,800 years ago, which ties it nicely in with our friends the Etruscans, and 1,000 years ago. The scientists then compared the DNA with samples from other groups of ancient and modern people and found that the Etruscans, who spoke a non-Indo-European language, very different language than anybody else, had a genetic profile similar to that of their Latin-speaking neighbors. Ooh, interesting. And it goes on to genetic profile similar to that. Oh, we've done that, right? University of Florence said the study challenges the assumption that people with similar genes spoke similar languages. Both groups are thought to have come to the Italian peninsula from the Pontic Caspian steppe, which is Black Sea. Right, that's where it is. Romanian side of the Black Sea, with the early Etruscans settling in northern and eastern Italy and dominating central Italy by the 600 years BC. By the 200 years, 250 years BC, the Roman Republic gained control and assimilated the Etruscans like the Borg in Star Trek. The researchers plan to examine DNA from other regions of the Roman Empire to examine their search for the origins of the Etruscans and their language. So the search goes on. So the Etruscans are still keeping some of their sort of mystery and their language and who they are and where they come from and all the rest of it. So we'll leave that there. We've done that article. It's very new, very fresh. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to get on to doing some screen sharing, and we need to. Oh, there's a swastika here as well. And why not? But we'll come on to that in a short while. So I'll try and keep this sort of archaeologically bent, and there's nothing wrong with a bit of archaeological bent. There you go, sorted. There's that stone at Stelae that we were just mentioning. 2015. Obviously, we've just spoken about it now, and what we need to do is we need to come to a map to work out where we are. And there's the Stelae again. Let's have a little bit of a slip. And bingo. There they are. Voila. Now, rather interesting map that, and what we can actually see. You can see a little map there. Good. What you can actually see is the Etruscans there are in a way expanding their influence. They're not really empire builders. They never really were. They expanded their influence to down south towards the Bay of Naples. You can see the Bay of Naples there, Campania, and you've got the Latins here. Obviously, they're extending their influence, extending their influence all the way up to the Alps, for example, and their influence on Corsica. But the Etruscans themselves were like the Phoenicians in a way. You see the Phoenicians in history, their trade, their influence. You don't really see the Phoenicians as being like really warlike people. You don't really see the Etruscans as being really warlike people. They didn't have much of an army either, but they managed to stick with what they believed and their ideas and their influence for quite some time. You know, they're quite. So if you look at them, sort of 900 years, 800 years BC, and you chuck in that they're around for 500 years, not doing too badly. So that they're the epitome of a people that didn't need to go to war all the time. Okay, so they didn't need to do that massive empire building. But for Rome to be great, they had to absorb all these different worlds that they did. And like Carthage, like Greece, like the land of Tuscany, the Etruscans. Tuscany comes from the word Etruscans. Okay, so there you go. So we'll keep this little map there. What I want to do, I've got my little notes here. So when we think about it, we think about them in Tuscany. We think about their sort of association in other areas, and they've obviously got their own language, and it's very like they were like little city states. There you go. They worked together and they sort of looked after each other. And finally, the last Etruscan city was absorbed by Rome in the year 27 years BC. And that would have been under the auspices of the great Augustus himself. So we get this culture coming somewhere. We get this sort of massive influence, and obviously the assimilation slowly by Rome. And Etruscan culture was influenced in some ways, you could say the other way around, in some ways by ancient Greece and how Greece is developing. And that would have been by around the fact that they're trading with the Mediterranean world. And it sort of looks at that they are taking a lot of influence from Greece, right? Greece is bigger. Greece has a lot more stuff going on. And the territorial extent of the Etruscan civilization reached its maximum at the time that Rome was actually starting to sort of develop and find its own feet. And slowly but surely they reduced. They reduced in power, and the political balance went to Rome. So the earliest known Etruscan writings that we're aware of come from around 700 years BC. The example that we've seen sort of coming from about 500, 600 years BC. So the earliest writing that we know of comes from around 700 years BC. And what basically it looks like it's saying here about the Etruscan language remains only partly understood, making modern understanding of their society and cultural heavily dependent on much later and generally disapproving Roman and Greek sources, because they were the victors and they wrote about the Etruscans. They had a very interesting political system. Authority resided in its individual small cities. So in other words, you had these Etruscans over this area with all their cities. And basically what happened is that the political system resided within the cities, predominant families, and they all worked together. The Etruscan families grew very rich through trade with various people in the Mediterranean, and in particular those towards the north west into Germany and modern day Switzerland. And again, what we do see with lots of their tombs is that luxuriance. It's the way that they would portray their loved ones in either timber, wood, or terracotta. And the tombs were painted very garishly with some of the most wonderful paintings that were around, and which would have been the same paintings that they would have used when they would have been alive, living in those various sites. Judging from the archaeological remains, yes, Greece did have a huge influence on these Etruscans. So let's have a little look at some more of these images. And what I need to do, I need to get my little reference. This is actually quite. Any guesses what this is? Come on.
No.
Okay, it's a crest-shaped lid, right? It's obviously it's not obvious what it is, but this is actually a cremation urn.
A what?
A cremation urn.
Oh,
cremation urn.
No.
It's a cremation urn, right? It's a cremation urn, and look at the symbolism on that. So, can you see those little things? They're called swastikas.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And there's swastikas on the top bit as well. So this is it's called a biconical cremation urn, and that would have been something that we may not have guessed. And this here, this is rather interesting. This is a cremation urn in the shape of a hut, which represented a typical peasant Etruscan house with a very powerfully built door. Etruscan, lots of in the main Etruscan houses weren't like that, but it's sort of giving you another sort of impression into this world of the Etruscans. And this dates to about 700 years BC. But this would be another little thing. This is an embossed item. And there you go, our swastikas again.
yeah, but you said they had no connection, their language, with most of ours. Like what is it, Indo something or other?
Yeah, they don't have an Indo-European language. It's different.
But they've got the swastika, which was an Indian.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good luck.
So, it's basically the symbolism associated with the Etruscans are different. The way they're writing is different, right? And you never know that they could have actually spoken like everybody else or slightly similarly, but we don't have a reference to, we don't have a tape recording of what their language was like anyway.
No.
So this is that sort of downside with trying to get into these mines. This is an Etruscan pendant. This is actually in France, in Louvre, and this dates to about 700 years BC. but most of the objects that we've seen are either bronze. This is obviously gold that we're looking at, and the next object is absolutely amazing, right? And this is one that I've not seen before, so we're going to show it. Look at that. And
Wow.
that is a hollow cast bronze on which is engraved the Etruscan inscription, to the god Texans as a gift. Texans were the protectress of childhood. And this dates to about 250 years BC, just before Rome really gets big. And I got to be honest with you, anatomically, that looks actually really good. It does, doesn't it? That's actually cast bronze.
Wow.
No, hollow cast. Yeah, hollow cast bronze. It's hollow cast bronze.
Is that a bird?
They will do.
All in his hand?
Yeah.
That's a bird.
Yeah.
Do you know? If we just forget about just see if we can get more of a into the face. Look at the features there. Hang on, it looks like Councillor Jeff James. Nobody knows who Councillor Jeff James is, but yeah, it looks, you know.
I do.
Yeah, well, no, I know you do. I do, right? Do you know what I want to do, right? I didn't realize how poor this image was. I want to see if we can get another image of this. Hang on a minute. Just keep looking at that a minute. I'm just gonna see if I can the Puto if I can the Puto Graziani, that's what it's called, and I'm sure we can get they do argue that some of their bronzes may not actually be theirs, but lots of the ones that we do see are, if that makes sense. We've got a chimera coming up. We've got Romulus and Remus, the typical one, which they're still arguing over. But anyway, if we can get another one of these, so I can just blang it on the computer. I'm just trying to get this, but it's just so this goes to show the skills of these people, the actual radiance with their understanding of how hollow cast bronze work actually happens. And I've got a really good image in front of me, so I'm thinking I will. It's actually looks very different from the one we're looking at because it's from a different angle. So if we look at this here, hopefully I can get this on. Right, here we go. I got it on my full screen now. I'm just going to see. Might use up a bit too much. Now you're going to love this, guys. Right, okay, here we go. Now this, and you can clearly see, right, let's just stop talking, Carl. Let's just show it. Right, here we go. Hang on, new share. And I tell you what, now that looks really, can you imagine? It's obviously become pitted over time, right? But that is, look at the detail of the belly button there, right? And you've got this little bird, which must be a toy. And now it looks more like a childhood figure, doesn't it? It looks it's obviously to the god Texans as a gift. Texans was a protectress of childhood, right? Protectress of childhood. And it and the features in the face, the eyes there, the whip of the hair, the lovely little ears, the tender nose, the lovely tender lips, the way the muscles portrayed. And this is typical Etruscan. This is the way the Etruscans didn't hold anything back. They wanted you to see their skill. They wanted to show their emulance of being able to replicate people. Now, if you take away the point that this is, if you take away the point that this is representative of a god, and we know that by the carving on the leg, and if I may just try and get a little bit more detail of that carving, and then you can get a little bit more idea of their writing as well. So if I just type that in, well, it's not a carving, is it? It's cast into the bronze. So right, so if we try and get an image of the carving, so we know what the carving says, and if we can just try and maybe oh god, I don't know, just see if I can just eke this one out. If I can get this on. We should be showing all the different images on the screen at this moment, maybe, hopefully. Oh, there it is. Ah, bingo. And it's actually there. There we go. We're looking at this on the screen now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The writing all down the
we
leg.
Zoom in. Yeah, got it. And look at that there. Actually, do you know, weirdly enough, Texans. Hang on. So if we go there, that's the TEC, and we got Sands, and that represents about the to the, so that must mean to the god. That's there, to the god there. Tech Sands, and then that's as a gift. And I think that's amazing. Now that what we need to do now is we need to keep that image in our heads, and then we need to go back to the other image I wanted to show you now, which is coming up. I just got to remember that I'm gonna keep this in order. See, you can tell that looks good, but it's not as good as the ones we've seen. Now look at this. Now this is a sarcophagus known as the sarcophagus of the spouses. Now this actually dates to the period. And you know what? You know what I'm gonna do? I've done exactly what I wasn't meant to be doing today, haven't I? But anyway, it don't matter. It's fine. You want to know the sarcophagus of the spouses, and it's just so lifelike. And yeah, sorry, I've gone off on a tangent. So I just want to. I know you'll all forgive me. I couldn't stop myself. The one thing about these Etruscans, right, is I was meant to be doing a stage performance with actual new images that I had somebody had taken from Italy, because they'd visited Italy. The pandemic come in, it didn't happen. Now the one I want us to look at is hang on a minute, it's as I said, I deliberately kept it. Right, we've got the other one, right? I haven't. We're gonna show you this, right? We're gonna show you this, and I'm gonna try and not go too far with this. If we can just, right, okay, right. We'll Sandra knows exactly what I'm gonna do now. So we'll change the image that we're looking at now, which is this. This is defined as the sarcophagus of the spouses from just before the years when Rome really assimilates, and then you've got this one here, which is the famous one. And are we showing this on the screen?
Oh, still the spouses.
Yeah.
No. Oh,
No.
that's the
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Chop their heads off.
And it's just it's as I always said with the Truskin art, it's meant to look real.
Mhm.
It's meant to have that conversation with you. It's meant yeah, hairs are slowly going up on the back of my neck, even though I haven't got hairs on the back of my neck. And you've got lots of these made of terracotta, and what's it's in two sections as well. And this would have been adorned, and there would have been decoration as well. But you can imagine that, you imagine going down some steps into a tomb underground. And inside that tomb is a representation of the home that these two people used to live in. And you go down these steps and you go past the threshold, and you sit opposite on a bench, and your mum's having a conversation with you. She's actually having a conversation with you. She's saying, you know, what's happening? And you're saying, look, mum, you know, I'm finding life really hard since you've gone. And, you know, dad's not much help because he's down here with you, right? And mum's gently looking at you and saying, look, he'll be fine. He'll be okay. Everything will be okay. Everything will turn out fine. And then your father is behind your mother, and your father's actually agreeing with what your mother's saying. And it's just that look at you. To be honest with you, I could go on for another 10, 20 minutes looking at this and examining this. But this is key to where I'm going next year in regards to prehistory. It's that conversation that prehistory has with you. It sits you down, and it's thanks to David. It's David's fault that we're doing prehistory and we're looking at lots of prehistoric sites next year. I mentioned the site, the South US Callahan and Hebrides, and I mentioned about the mummified in the Bronze Age mummified individuals at Callahan, Hebrides, and I basically said you'd mummify somebody, you'd put them in a peat bog, and then it would sort of it would mummify them, and you'd bring them into the house, and you'd have these mummies around, and you'd have a conversation, and you'd say whoever the mummified individual was, and you'd have this conversation. You say, what do you think? And then you would remember what they would tell you, and you would be having that conversation. These things are really real. Do you know? Don't call me mad because you all do this, right? We've got people that we've lost in our lives that we've been really passionate about, and I often have conversations with my granddad, Noah, right? I often have conversations with my nan, and I realize what they would have told me, and I take that advice even now. And my grandmother passed away 3 years ago. My granddad passed away in 2007, and they're still telling me what to do. And this is what this is doing. You've gone down there in a hut in the tomb, and your mother is telling you, and your dad is reinforcing, and you've asked those questions, and you're always given those answers. This is what this Etruscan world's about. I'm not going to apologize for going down that little rabbit hole that I said I wasn't going to go down today. However, let's yeah, I couldn't stop myself. So, but you can see this there, and it's just this is a different way. But the wife is looking at the husband, and it's a different conversation. So you go down into the tomb. And you say to dad, you say, look, dad, I've fallen in love with somebody, and mother's saying, go on, tell him what you think, And you remember what dad would have said. Dad was very stern. He was not as a gentle fellow as we saw in the other image. And it's always that discourse, it's always that conversation that you're having. And this is what makes me love the Etruscan world so much, and drives me into this world.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It is more than beautiful. It's this expressionate sense of who the Etruscans are. Now I've got to embody more about the Etruscans and try to keep this in the background and not go off into a tangent. The Etruscans that we know as the Etruscans, they actually referred to themselves as another name, right? They refer to themselves as another name. They call themselves the Rasenna. We call them the Etruscans, and they call themselves the Rasenna. But that's the world, you know. we refer to the ancient Egyptians. We say, you're an ancient Egyptian. And they just say, no, we're not. We're something else. So to the Greeks, the Etruscans called themselves the Ravenna. To the Greeks, they referred to them as the Tyrrhenians. That's great, isn't it? Tyrrhenians. And then from the Greek Tyrrhenian, the Romans called the Etruscans the Etrurian, right? The Etrurian, which then in turn gives us the word Etruscans. So the name that we give the Etruscans is actually another name, right? Now, this is rather interesting. Yeah. Prompting some to associate them with the Teresh, one of the sea people named by the Egyptians, right? Now, that's rather interesting. We did the sea people, didn't we? We did the sea people invasion of Greece over 3,000 years ago, and we saw the collapse of the Greek kingdom. But when we think about these and how the name develops, Etruria, the Roman, the word Tusky comes in. Is thought by linguists to have been the Umbrian word for Etruscan. So in other words, all these different words come in. So the Umbrian people call Tuscany the Tusky. So in other words, where the Etruscans come from is referred to as the Tusky, and the word Etruscan comes from the Roman and the Greek. So what we've got is lots of sort of hypotheses of what the name means, and it's thought these. Another thing about the Etruscans is that they were the people who built towers, the tower builders, right? Very interesting. And there's and they've got these beautiful Etruscan houses, which may have been tower-like. Now, actually, it's 8:42, so I wanted to maybe we should have a break now. Otherwise, I'm gonna burn myself out. But there's lots of ways people look at these people, which we're not going to go into too much detail, right? Because I want to go on to the archaeological evidence, right? But this is absolutely beautiful as well. It is absolutely unbelievably beautiful. The art that we're actually seeing, and the way it shows, and the way it speaks, and the way it wants to speak, is speaking to us now. It really is speaking to us now, and again, if I did a lecture on the art, I would do a lecture on the art, but there's something about what I wanted to avoid doing. But that's having that conversation with us, and lots of these were lifelike. Some weren't. It was a restricted space underground, and they had to make do. But that's what this world is about. And even some of the tombs underground, they had the carvings of your pots and pans into the rock, and it would just be paintings of how your house was. So even though all Etruscan buildings are now gone above ground level, we know what Etruscan buildings looked like above ground level by looking at the tombs that we see representative in the ground, underground. So what we'll do, I want to look at some of the ancient sources and what the Etruscans were and their language and how we understand that from modern scholars. And the first Greek author to mention the Etruscans was a poet, Hesiod, sometime in about 700 years BC. We'll mention that. We'll mention a few other things. And it says, and we've got an idea where they came from as well. Migrating from the east, but that's probably more obvious with the word with some of the art representations that we see. You can clearly see the Greek influence here, and I'm excruciatingly struggling with what I used to think in regards to, did the Etruscans copy their art forms from ancient Greece, which in many ways is very different. Or did the Etruscans influence ancient Greece, or was it back and forth? Was it a by artistic trade, which is probably more likely? The Etruscans had something because they've got something that the Greeks didn't have, and the Greeks had something the Etruscans copied. Maybe it's something like that. Right, I need my head's gone. I need to have a break. So right, any questions? Oh, come on, Sandra. If you're gonna ask a question, Sandra, right, keep it to 1 minute rather than 5 hours.
No questions.
Oh, come on, Sandra. You're a bore now.
I know.
Okay, then.
But
Talking
it's
about
so
bores.
realistic.
Very
What's that?
realistic.
Even that one that you pointed out, which was your favourite, and the man and the wife, I presume they were.
Yeah.
That's very modern. Very modern. But it's the affection that they should, that one. It's the affection between the two. The feeling that comes over when you look at something like that. Totally different to what you normally get from a statue.
It looks a bit like an Egyptian chin, the male. It looks a bit Egyptian, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
When we think about the Middle Kingdom, and we think about Akhenaten, and we think about how realistic art looked, that was 700 years before that. The pharaoh dared to show his royal family as actual human beings, actually having some sense of tenderness. And I think what we do, we brandish the past in a barbarian mindset. It was always hard. People were always out to kill each other, and people were always out to do this and that. And what we've clearly shown over the past few years is that there are Etruscans like the Etruscan. There are cultures like the Olmec, for example, in Central America that had a different way of looking at how society should be organized. And we talk about this great revolution in ancient Greece, where we've got demos, and we've got poetry, and we've got leisure, time to have leisure. But we look at lost civilizations like the Etruscans, that we're still creaming some information, and we're starting to see that the past is tender and the past is gentle. I tell you what, we are wrong when we judge these people in any way. And what we've seen recently is a destruction of our understanding of the past. For example, I've just heard that a statue of Thomas Jefferson has just been torn down in New York. And he was the third president of the United States. And you're thinking, what's happening with history? Why are we always saying that history is wrong? And but in regards to the Etruscans, there's so much that's right about it.
Yeah.
And there's so much that you can't argue with. It's like that sense of Valhalla. And again, just looking into that lady's eyes, and you take the hand of your newborn child and you put it in your mother's hand, and father's looking at your child and he's saying, that's a beautiful baby, and mother's saying, I wish I could still be alive to hold your child's hand now, but you know what? I am holding your child's hand. And dad almost wants to bring his hand around to actually touch the face of your newborn child. And I'm not just prevaricating. I'm talking of that based on another lecture that another archaeologist was having in regard to this piece of work. To be honest with you, if I had loads more images, I could just do one. I could just do that. Right. Okay. Right. It's your fault, Sandra. Right. Right. Have we done you, Drina?
I've got no questions.
What about you, Davey?
No, thank you.
What about you, Annie?
I'm just blown away by the art. I think the movement in the
it's wonderful.
child was just incredible. It was absolutely wonderful. And there was such a naturalness about the other one where it is a father and daughter talking or something. I don't think I've ever seen. We tend to see statues and they're sort of standing up, but there was something so, as you say, you were moving into their lives. It was just, I thought it was wonderful, really wonderful.
Actually, we're moving into their lives, but they're also moving into our lives. They're meant to. They're meant to impact us now. They're meant to speak to us. They do speak to us. That's the point.
Speak over. That's right. Speak over centuries, and it is amazing. I just found it wonderful. While I'm here, can I make an apology because I'm not feeling too grand and I might not get to the end of the lecture tonight. So if I go, you'll know what it is.
Well, okay.
I'll try and stay with it because I'm enjoying it. But if I don't feel great, you'll know why I've gone.
Okay. Well, what we'll do? All I need is a quick cup of tea, right? So we will stick to 10 minutes today. Otherwise, mouth almighty Sandra, she'll talk through the whole thing. And Margaret, anything you want to say?
Well, the last figure that you showed of the lady reclining, really beautiful. I noticed that it was painted. She got skin tones, which is quite unusual for a very ancient sculpture, isn't it?
Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm hopefully I'm going to whilst I try and get through. If anyone's got any other questions in a second, I'm just going to try. And if I can just get a better image of that, because the one I've got is not much good. I'm just going to see if I can get another image. But anyway, before we do that, Pat and Andy, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, it is a beautiful statue. It almost looked like it was wood, wooden. By the color,
Well, the one we've just seen now, which is I can't even. It's not. It's terracotta.
Terracotta, that's what it is.
One of the statues seemed to have a fluffy cat. I don't know how it managed to do that in the materials they're working. There's a fluffy cat in the corner.
When did you see a fluffy cat?
Well, on one of those images, there was I thought I saw a fluffy cat sitting up on the.
And let's do the sarcophagus of say Antia Hunnanina, and we're gonna get another one now. We're gonna show this on the screen. The one that we just seen. I can't even say her name, so we're just she's an Etruscan woman, right?
Yeah.
And Andy, do you want to say anything?
No, fine, thanks. I'm always amazed by the Etruscans.
Yeah, staggering.
I think they're part Celtic.
That would explain a lot, Pete. You're right.
Yeah.
No, they're from Barry. They are. Oh, now look at that now.
Wow.
It's beautiful.
Yes, tremendous.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
it's quite
delicate, the
colourful.
folds and everything.
And the colouring.
But it's the colour, isn't it?
But the Egyptians used to colour those stone statues they have.
Yeah.
One very realistic, but they were coloured.
Is that a goat?
Where?
By her left hand.
Oh, I can see what you're on about. I can't make it out.
Yeah.
Oh,
You got a
She's got
book.
a veil. Oh, Pat, she's telling us a story. She's reading to us. Do you know that bedtime story that your mum used to read to you? She's reading. You're sat there and she's actually reading it to you, and you're remembering all those words.
Wow, does that tradition go back that far? That's an interesting concept, isn't it? Yeah.
I can't believe that those colours are so bright.
Yeah.
From such a long time ago.
But the concept does go back. You've got poetry. You've got storytelling. Yes, it does, Andy. That's the point.
Oral tradition. Yeah.
It does. So and it's fired in 2 sections.
Yeah.
Where are they kept to, Carl?
I'm just going to oh God, hang on. Where is there is actually a museum with a big collection of these.
I'm guessing they're full size.
I think we got a few in Florence.
Oh yeah.
Oh, hang on, this isn't the British Museum.
1.83 meters. Yeah, they're full size as well. Wow, that's a massive. That's a massive thing to fire as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's fired in 2 sections.
Yeah, but it's still big though, isn't it?
Sure.
Doing 2 sections.
Oh yeah.
Looks like marble. It's not marble, is it?
It's not. It's
terracotta.
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 Yeah.
Blimey.
Terracotta. Yeah.
Clever people.
Yeah.
This was a mistake tonight because I knew that yeah, sorry. Okay, we've got to take a break, and I've got to be more disciplined. I'm a child when it comes to the Etruscans. Can you imagine me doing a 2-hour lecture on this? I wouldn't do it.
You did it.
Yeah.
Years ago, you did it.
Yeah.
You're getting old, Carl.
Yeah.
What's that?
You're getting old. Years ago, you used to do a 2-hour lecture on this.
Yeah. I remember it.
Remember it? Do you?
Yeah. Cup of tea, Carl. You need a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Thanks. Hey, Sandra. I know I've given you a load of jip. Now you're making me feel bloody old now.
We used to have ham rolls, didn't we, halfway through?
Yes, we did. Mind you, I used to do it on wallpaper, if you can remember. I used to do these lectures.
Oh, I always remember the wallpaper.
The weird thing is, right? The weird thing is that I've still got those that I've still got it. But what I'm going to do, I'm gonna make a video of these things, right? And obviously I'm gonna have to get rid of them because whatever. But I'm gonna film each one, and I'm gonna stick it on YouTube, and you can watch one with me one day and say, "I remember that lecture."
We didn't have such a thing as Zoom or anything like that, obviously.
No.
But we used to take in our unused.
Wait, were you there that day?
And used to stick them on a board and draw all over them and write all over it.
It got very confusing.
Remember when we bought the what was it? That thing.
Whiteboard.
No, the used to put
a slide projector.
A slide projector.
Are you gonna tell him about the day that my son put some Lego in the back of it?
Yeah. We had all and his son had filled the back of it up with Lego. That was Owen when he was little.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it set a light.
Yeah, it did. We had to open the door.
I was doing the lecture and there was smoke coming out back of the slide machine.
I still have a slide projector if you want to use it.
Yeah, I would love to, but don't put Lego in it.
No, you have to put slides in it. Yeah.
I got slides.
Yeah. Slides are good.
Slides are good.
Then. You progressed since then, Carl.
You've moved on a bit.
I want to go back and use slides again. It's great. But anyway, right, folks, we need a break now. Now.
Right. Now.
Aye.
Hmm.
Yeah, I said to that,
David, I've seen you. Just
ornithologist, up in Indra. I said, so this is not a cure, this is just to put it on now. Yes, he said. I said, that's fair enough. And he said, it could be a cure, but, you know, we just have to wait and see. And I said, right. And I said to him, but if it comes back, say in 5 or 6 years' time, I knew what I was asking because I'd already read up on it. I said, is there anything coming out? He said, let's put it this way, Sandra. There'll be a lot of us who are very disappointed if something doesn't come out within 5 or 6 years. And I said, yeah, I thought as much because Caroline got the thing and it said that they're at stage 2 of I mean, it could take years to get.
yeah.
Don't know, and then it could fall down at the last stage, couldn't it?
Yeah, well,
But they're hoping that there's going to be a cure for breast cancer before long.
good.
It's not all this chopping us up and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Not that I'm worried about being
A lot of things seem to be, they're using gene therapy on a lot of stuff.
They do a lot.
I haven't heard of it being used for cancer.
Yes, it's being used for cancer as well.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. My sister has got a worse cancer than me. She's got myeloma, which is automatically you're classed as terminal.
Yeah.
And she had gene therapy, stem cell therapy.
Yeah.
But it didn't last very long. And they go to hell and back having that, believe you me. And she said afterwards, because she was as bolder than I am.
Yeah.
Her hair is beautiful now. And she said, I tell you what, Sam, and she's 10 years younger than me, I don't think I could cope with it again. And anyway, it did go down. It was not much over a year, and she was back to where she was before. And she went in and she said, I don't know if it's worth coming in here, she said, because I can't go through this again like I went through last time. And they said, there's no need to. It's not a cure, but we can keep you going for a lot longer. And she goes in and she has a special, they make it up specially for you, whatever you've got, chemotherapy. She has once a month, and then she takes a couple of tablets every day, and that's it.
All right.
And she's
that's holding it reasonably, delaying it.
Holds it. It holds it.
It holds it, yeah.
And she said if it came back, and she said to the woman, well, how long does it last as a rule? She said about a year, 2 years. And she said, well, I've already been on it 18 months. She said, what will happen now? She said, well, we'll find something else. Don't let it worry you. And when I spoke to the thing, he said to me, if we haven't got a cure, there'll be a lot of us here that are going to be very disappointed, he said.
I mean, so worry. I mean, this lady's saying, don't worry about it. I mean, you would be worried, wouldn't you? You couldn't not worry about it.
Well, you're bound to worry about it.
Of course, you know, that's what I'm saying.
And I say, oh, I'm blasé about it, but I'm not. I worry about it.
No, you must do it. It would be not human nature, would it, if you didn't worry about it?
And I know what I look like. I look in the mirror, I see myself, I know what I look like. But hopefully I'll have my hair dyed. And I will look a bit better. Because
you're going to a posh colour like Drina goes.
Yours is very nice, but mine's not bad as nice a colour. But my little great grandson has cottoned on to the fact that if he coughs in nursery, he goes half a day to nursery, half a day to school. And if he coughs in nursery, they phone his mother up and she's got to come and take him back home. As soon as they're through the door, he's full of it. He never coughs again and he's eating like a horse. He's a canny little devil, that one. When you see a photograph of him, Al says to his mum, my granddaughter Alexandra, said, "Does he look evil to you?" I said, "Yeah, he does a bit." I said, he got an evil look sometimes. He frightens me. But so, as I say, Archie willing, I'll have my hair done Thursday.
Oh,
Archie decides to have another.
So next week you'll be looking quite glamorous then.
Oh. Actually, if I could walk better than I'm walking, I'd be fine.
Yeah.
I feel all right, but I got a heavy cold as well this week,
Yeah.
so that hasn't improved things. But and I could sleep for Britain. That's all I want to do.
I can't. That's what's the matter with me. I feel I'm worried I won't stay awake till the end of the lecture because I had very little sleep. I had very little sleep last night, and I don't manage very well without my sleep.
I can't sleep well.
I go to bed, and I've got the same painkillers, but basically one's a lot. The one lot I got is a hell of a lot stronger than the others. And when I go to bed, I take 2 of them, and the next thing I know, I'm waking up in the morning. It's 9, 10 o'clock. I slept nearly 12 hours.
I don't sleep well. I do not too bad most of the time, but I get the odd night like last night when I really.
I think as you get older, to be honest with you, you get like that.
Probably.
You get good sleep that comes very easily, and then you go through a phase where it doesn't come easily.
You can't get to sleep, I usually can go to sleep quite easily. Then I wake up after a couple of hours, and then I can be awake ages in the middle of the night and can't get to sleep again.
I'm the same. I get up, make a cup of tea, and I spend the rest of the night here in the chair.
Yeah.
The recliner chair and feet up and recline, and quite often I'll go to sleep here in the chair quite nicely.
Sometimes I can go back to sleep and it's all right, but if I don't go back to sleep, it's like I'm like I am now, yawning and really needing sleep now.
I'm looking around to try and find a double bed. Those ones that the head comes up and comes up, to see if I can get more comfort.
Yeah.
With that, but I mean, say if I take 2 of the painkillers, I'm off like a.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go taking them all the time, he said. I said no. Is there anything else you could give me? Yes, he said morphine, and I said no.
Mm-hmm.
But so I've ended up with these cocodamol, they're the extra
boys.
strong ones.
Cocodamol are the boys.
Yeah. And that's why I was all fingers and thumbs coming in you, because I'd just taken 2 before I left the house.
You didn't tell me you were on drugs when I picked you up.
Pardon?
You didn't tell me you were on drugs when I picked you up.
Oh, that's Daniel usually shouts. That's my grandson who's living with me. He usually shouts out, and he's got a mouth on him like the Mersey Tunnel. And somebody's walking past, and he's got the front door open. He says, "Nan, you leave those drugs alone now. No taking any more drugs." And then he turns around and has a look. I said, "Is there anything else you want to tell him?" That's it. It's a flamer. And when you pulled up for me, he said, "Your lift's here now. Be gentle with him." I said, "I'll try to be." We're very fond of each other when we're not fighting, Daniel and I.
That's good.
I tell you what, I can't be ill in there because the bloody house would be in a hell of a state if I was. With him and his 2 dogs.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I've got the 2 dogs as well.
Oh, Cheryl got a dog now.
Is she?
Yeah. A Bolo, it's a labby poodle,
Yeah,
a labradoodle.
a Labrador.
Oh,
Yeah, they're lovely. They
yeah.
are.
Oh, he's a lovely looking dog. Oh, yeah. But he's still a pup. And he's,
Oh, with a handful.
oh, absolutely, yeah.
Well, Daniel's got 2 of them. They're a cross between a bulldog
Oh,
and something. They're big dogs.
Mm.
And the youngster is 18 months old. Ooch. And he's 18, and he's still a handful now. I couldn't cope with him. I shout my head off at him, and he disappears quick. And then Pumba is 2 years old, but he's like a little old man. Pumba around the
Right.
place.
Sandra, do you know when we're supposed to have a break, right?
Yeah.
Are you doing the warm-up act in the break or something?
Yes, I am. I'm the warm-up act.
Christ almighty.
You've got something smoking in front of you. What have you got smoking there?
What do you mean smoking? It's a cup of tea, isn't it?
Oh, that-
He's not
I
from
know.
Barry, is he? It's a cup of tea in it.
Do you know what, right, Pete? Right. Next, what you did actually say. What did you say earlier on? I got it. My ass. My ass. Right. Okay. We're gonna crack on. Just a couple of announcements. Right. Next week we're doing the Newport boat.
Oh. Why?
But I might actually do another one to go along with it as well. So that should be good.
Excellent.
So, I'm glad you approve, Andy. You know, it's nothing, right? And Dave, right? As I can't track you down, right, Dave? Did you manage to send us a check?
I don't keep track of them. Do I owe you some money?
Yeah, you do.
Right.
oh, you owe me some as well.
Don't believe him, Dave.
How
Nobody's
much?
telling you lies, Dave.
How much?
No, it's for the next 2 months, David. It's 50 quid.
It's always the next 2 months, every month. Yeah.
No, that's true. That's true. So, David,
So how much is it?
it's £50, and that'll do you until January.
Right.
So if you can get that over, Dave, I'd really appreciate it.
I'll save up.
Wait, well, you don't save up too long. It'll be Christmas.
Andy, did it go well for
Anyway.
you in Glasgow?
Yeah, you. What's that?
I was asking Andy if it went well for him up in Glasgow.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Good.
I had the others have heard, but I had the highlight of my career getting called out officially to Nessie.
Never.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
No, the police had arrested her before we got there, but I have got a picture. One of the newspapers got a picture. It was a full-size inflatable Nessie that one of the protest groups were trying to put in the river, and we got called out to it. So yeah.
I saw them all on those things going up and down the river.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell whether it was you or not because with all the clobber you've got on, you can't see.
Well, if it had a blue helmet, chances are it would be.
Well, yeah, it did. One of them did have a blue helmet.
Well, that was probably me. There was only me and my friend had blue helmets. The rest had all, because they were higher ranking, all had fancy helmets.
Oh,
right.
We was common.
You was just on the high below, were you?
For God's sake.
In works, we supervisors, management, we had yellow helmets. And consequently, we were called daffodils.
Of course.
I remember
Right,
that.
are we ready to crack on, folks?
Yeah, go on then.
Oh, if you
Put
must.
on your head.
Oh, look,
Good job.
Yeah.
I'm sick of my hair going every bloody where. That's
Well,
why.
get it cut then.
I don't want to get it cut.
Oh, then don't worry about it.
It's just
It's nice. Don't worry.
put my hoodie on like that.
Oh no, you get shot like that.
Right, okay, are we ready? Good. Before Dave gets up. Anyway, Dave, Thanks for that, Dave. I thought I'd mention it. Oh God.
Carl, carry on.
Hey, I got your permission now. I got Sandra's permission as well, have I?
Yeah.
Sandra, right? Next time, don't stay away for so long.
I will be away now. I don't know that I'll be here next week.
Yeah, I tell you what, next time we see you, we'll hear all about it again. Christ almighty.
You haven't heard half of it, believe you me.
Oh, no, don't, no, that's enough. Right.
It would probably be quicker if you flew over to India and got sorted in a hospital there.
Yeah,
They'd
it probably would
sort
be.
you out in a week.
Yeah, they give me COVID as well, I expect.
Right, okay, let's crack on. Oh my God, please help me. Right, okay.
Oh, I see the couch at the top. They improved.
Oh, shut up!
There they are.
I knew they were there.
Yeah, they would look.
They're
Look,
gone.
these Truscans are just underneath them.
Yeah.
They're
They
gone, I
probably
got rid
showed
of
the
them.
Etruscans what to do.
And I thought that said the Cumbrians, but it's the Umbrians.
God. Okay, folks, right, let's crack on. So I wanted to sort of, I wanted to basically, you know, we know about the Etruscans from what we see in the archaeology today. We know about the Etruscans because the Romans wrote about them and the Greeks wrote about them. The Romans disapproved of the Etruscans, and so did the Greeks disapprove of the Etruscans. There's some suggestion that they may have migrated from Greece. Others maintain that they were indigenous to central Italy and were not from Greece. Others claim that they were from the Black Sea. But what we do find, there's a Greek writer known as Hesiod who first mentions the Etruscans in around 700 years BC. He mentioned them as residing in central Italy alongside the Latins, basically the Latin peoples of, you know, those people who actually did speak that language, like the Umbrians and the Romans and so on. So they sat alongside them within that society. There's also in the 600s, interestingly enough, a Homeric hymn, Homeric hymn to Dionysus, the Greek god Dionysus, and this Homeric hymn to Dionysus referred to these people, the Etruscans, as the pirates. They referred to the Etruscans as the pirates because they were great sea traders as well. They traded extensively through the Mediterranean. And it's rather interesting that we've got this sort of backdrop that this great Etruscan world may have been influenced by ancient Greece, and Greece may have been influenced by these people. But they're certainly non-Greek. But then again, some people refer to them as indigenous ancestors of the Greeks. So we don't really know what's going on. But there's so many things to be said. There's even talk that they migrated from the Greek island of Lemnos. So we may never know. Strabo actually mentioned the Roman writer Strabo. He mentioned about the island of Lemnos, and it goes on and on and on, describing where these people may have come from. But we do have this mention from the Romans that they did undertake divine worship, and when we sort of go down, listen to this one. This is from a Greek historian, Livy, about the Etruscans. He says that the Alpine tribes have also no doubt the same origin of the Etruscans. So, Pete, they were Celts.
Yes, of course they were.
Shut up. I'm just making... but here we go. Hang on, Pete, right? But they were rendered to be savage by the very nature of their country,
And the
as
Romans
to
tried
retain
to make
nothing
that
of
out.
their ancient character,
The
save
Romans
the
were
sound of
jealous
their
of them.
speech. Even that is corrupted. So in other words,
Romans
shut
were
up, Pete.
jealous of them, of their skills, and they tried to make them out to be like that.
They were savages, Pete.
No, they weren't. They played rugby.
Shut up.
If you look at that area up there, that's Treviso as well. And that's where they
Shut
played
up!
rugby.
Pliny the Elder, who's obviously the guy who's writing his natural history in AD 79. Pliny the Elder is the one who's killed, trying to save with his navy the people from Herculaneum and Strabe, when Vesuvius goes up on the 24th of August, AD 79. Pliny the Elder writes, adjoining these, the Alpine tribes, the Etruscans, they were all divided into these states. And it's also said, Pliny the Elder believed that the Etruscans were people who had been driven out from France into Italy. So in other words, we don't know where the hell these people came from, right? We don't know. And this is why they're doing DNA testing to try and work out the origins of these people. Right? We could go on. There's so much more. So we got this. We're looking there. It's a really bad image, actually, but it sort of does paint a little bit. You can get an idea that there's this sort of you've got this sort of the green bit, the brown bit in the middle. That's sort of the Etruscan influence. And you've got an idea that they've got extensive trade links with the Black Sea, for example. There you go, all the green stuff. They got those extensive trade links with Cyprus, trade links with Greece, trade links with Spain, trade links with central France as well, and even maybe trade links with Scandinavian people as well. So it's great. That sort of paints how extensive these Etruscans were, and the Etruscans were probably influenced by all this sort of dynamism, all this sense of culture, all this sense of trade. Now, this is a rather interesting statue which I would have shown before. Now, I keep trying to because I'm using a laptop and my iPhone here. That is actually an Etruscan bronze sculpture. Isn't it beautiful? It's look at the pecs there. It's absolutely wow. Look at the hands. Look at the gesture. He's telling us something. He's going places. And this is an Etruscan bronze sculpture, probably dating about 350, maybe 400 years BC, and it's associated. It's referred to as the Mars of Todi.
He looks right gay to me.
And you may have come across the figure Arnold of Todi from the 1400s. Mars of Todi, it's a place in Italy. So that is a wonderful figure. And basically, before you start thinking that that's iron or bronze armor, it's basically strips of leather mainly. So if we actually go down, do you know what I'm really wary of this time? So I need to start talking about the archaeology. Right. So obviously we're finding lots of these wonderful sculptures and tombs, and I'm realizing now that I'm not going to be able to do everything that I wanted to do. But the question of the Etruscan origins has long been a subject of interest and debate among historians and archaeologists. In modern times, we're really starting to get to grips with these Etruscans, and all the evidence gathered so far by archaeologists and so on is to say that everything that I've just mentioned might be wrong. In fact, everything points to the Etruscans actually being from Tuscany in the first place. Nobody can nail it. And this is one thing that they're trying to do. There is no archaeological or linguistic evidence of any real migration into Tuscany It's such a unique language. Maybe that's where the language developed. There's actually, you know, I have not come across this before, but you know, when you get Egyptologists and you get archaeologists, you've also got etruscologists that actually just dedicate their lives to the Etruscans. Etruscologists, etruscologists, I can't say it. So there's etruscologists who actually dedicate themselves just to the Etruscans. That's all they do, right? I've never heard of a Greekologist. I've never heard of a Romanologist. I've heard of an Egyptologist, but these are etruscologists. And these basically there's this great debate now. All the actual evidence tells us that they're from Tuscany, but there's a new wave that they may actually originate from somewhere completely different. Maybe they originated from southwestern Turkey, in the area of Lydian origins in western Turkey. That's sort of one thing that's sort of debated. Several archaeologists who have analyzed Bronze Age and Iron Age remains that were excavated across the Etruscan land related either to material culture or social practices that can or cannot support a migration theory. But with or without that, the most marked and radical change that can be seen is that we've got lots of evidence of for cremation, and which is not unusual. But somebody spotted something earlier on about their cremation practice, and interesting enough, if we go all the way back, what we're doing, we're trying to understand these people. So I'm just going to try and go back a minute. So somebody mentioned something earlier on, and they were probably very right. Right. If you look at this, somebody mentioned earlier on that this looked like it was of influence from the Asia Minor or India or somewhere like that. Yeah. Asia Minor, obviously Turkey, but this idea of cremation, the funerary rite of cremation, may have come as a skill with these people or been offered to these people from Asia, and it's said that this dates to earlier on in the Etruscan sort of period into the 800s, if I can remember. That's the date I actually gave it. But what we're saying is that there might be more evidence to say that these people may have come, for example, the Asian way. So what I've done, I've said that they did, and they didn't. But the fact of the matter is that this is the mystery about the Etruscans. There's so much mystery about them, and we can't nail them. But then again, do we need to nail them? You know, this is the point. It goes back to what somebody said years ago to me. They said, Karl, why are you archaeologists trying to make out that King Arthur never existed, or why are you always arguing to sort of destroy the historical narrative? And in many ways, we don't need to destroy the historical narrative and try to really work out where all these things come from in regards to the Etruscans, because the Etruscans themselves speak for themselves. They've got to voice themselves. And by saying that they've got all these influences and they come from this place and that place might be highly insulting. Let them be Etruscans. Let them have their own representation. It would be a bit like telling a Welshman that they're English. It wouldn't go down well. So what we're finding is that over the past decade, what they've been doing is that there's been more and more excavations of Etruscan sites, and what they're definitely nailing it is that the Etruscan world started to really develop around 900 years BC, and we're starting to sort of open up into this idea, and we're looking at genetic research, trying to help us understand who the Etruscans were, and in what direction that we should go on. So we see these people developing. We're talking about that they've got their own language, and they're expanding. They've got trade. They've got little city-states. What they're developing their sort of territory around is little towns, which are actually naturally fortified towns. So what we need to do, we need to go back to that image, like these type of localities. Now, in Tuscany, I don't know if any of you have been to Tuscany, but around Tuscany, you've got all these little hillocks, which it's stone hillocks, and they've got all these sort of oldie looking medieval towns and so on. But lots of these localities would have been the places where the Etruscans would have chosen to build their little villages and their little towns. And in that area of Tuscany, not only is it going to be rich agriculturally, that the Etruscans themselves, 800 years, 900 years BC and beyond, would have been self-supporting. The mining and commerce of metal, especially copper and iron, led to enrichment of the Etruscans and to the expansion of their influence in the Italian peninsula. So in other words, they had something that they could trade. It was a bit like that weird obscure island, Cyprus, which is the island of copper. And they've got copper and they traded it extensively. And it's a bit like these Etruscans being able to use these naturally fortified islets within a sea of green, and they're able to sort of operate their world over a period of 500 years and give us the information and give us the sense of who they are for a very, very long time. So what we do see is that the Etruscans are naturally involved either with siding with one side in the wars that Italy is involved in. One minute they're siding with Carthage, and the next minute they're not. So there's all these different sort of all these different things sort of going on. So what we do find is that they're within the myth of the Etruscans is that there's 12 main hillocks like this, the 12 main cities, and they create a league. They create a confederation, and the important point with that is across the Etruscan landscape with these 12 great cities, the League of Etruscan Cities is not only able to defend each city by itself without too much hardship. Economically, they stick together. Religiously, they stick together. And what's happening is that this is a very different model than what the Romans are doing. What the Romans are doing, they've got this one great city of Rome, and they're going out conquering everywhere. Where the idea of the Etruscan world was to have these individual cities and keep the independence of these cities, but work together as a cooperative. And that's what makes them strong. Their individual identity of Etruscan cities makes them strong, but which is a very different model from what Rome's doing. What Rome's doing further in the south, as the Etruscans are developing and trading and got all this stuff going on with all these different worlds and influences in and out, and they've got their rich copper and their bronzes. We've seen their fascinating bronze work and what they're doing is that we've got this, right. I was going to mention the Rome bit. So what we've got is we've got these 12 cities, and they've got all this influence and stuff going on, and then you've got this. This is the Capitoline wolf, long considered an Etruscan bronze, feeding the twins Romulus and Remus. Now, if this is this is the irony of history, isn't it? If it's long argued whether this is an Etruscan bronze, but if it actually is an Etruscan bronze, it's Rome that conquers the Etruscans, but you've got hang on a minute. You've got an Etruscan bronze, which is out there on the edge, and it's sort of the foundation myth for Rome itself. Sorry about that, Colin. So, you know, those that subscribe to a Latin foundation of Rome, followed by an Etruscan invasion, typically speaking, an Etruscan influence on Roman culture. But we don't know if that happened. But materialistically, Rome might have been influenced by the Etruscans first, and then the Rome simply took over the Etruscan world. And that's rather interesting, that point, because when we talk about Rome, we always look at Rome as being a state that's very independent. But what we do see is that Rome never developed much by itself. Rome took its ideas of gods from the Greeks. It took its monetary system from the Greeks. It took its sort of suspended floor central heating systems from the Greeks and the Lydians. And you start to look at the Roman Navy, copied its ships from the Carthaginians. And what you do see is it's very likely that the Etruscans culturally influenced Rome, and then Rome just simply absorbed the Etruscan world. So Etruscan settlements were frequently, as we know, built on hills, the steeper the better, and surrounded by thick walls. According to Roman mythology, when Romulus and Remus founded Rome, they did so on the Palatine Hill according to Etruscan rituals. So in other words, Romulus and Remus may have actually started off as Etruscans, and not in Rome started from somewhere. It just didn't pull up from the ground as Romulus and Remus suddenly occurred, and they must have come from somewhere. And basically everything seemingly that goes into Roman mythology seems to dedicate itself all the way back to this sort of Etruscan world that's north of them. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at a few images. This is a nice little one. So if I can get the little description on what this is again, hang on a minute. Hang on, let's just get the description. We'll go on to this. Hang on a minute.
You make it bigger?
No.
Yeah, I can make it bigger. Yeah, hang on. Right, so I just gotta sort something out on the phone a minute. Hang on 1 second. Hang on a minute. Right, okay. I need to get the description on this one. Bear with me a second. I need my description. Bingo. Jessica had to leave us earlier as well, so I thought I'd mention that. Hang on. So I've given you a little bit more of the history there. I didn't want to I want to look at these images now. And this is described as this is a simple dedication to a family, an Etruscan and mother and child on a plinth. This is just a little statue. But again, I remember looking at this before, and I remember thinking that this is the child is very lifelike actually, and maybe the mother's pose is quite lifelike as well. And 1 second. Are you still looking at that image? Yeah. It's just a little representation there, and I'm very wary of time. We've already done that one, and this is quite strange. I remember when we looked at this before, and I remember the comment was that this looks very different from all other representations that we see in the Etruscan world. This is not lifelike. This is very, very different. But then again, in modern day society, we do abstract design, don't we? And it's not an indictment on society. We do abstract designs, and it's meant to represent something. This is obviously a figure that's meant to represent an Etruscan warrior. And immediately, and it's getting really hot in here. That represents an Etruscan warrior, and we're thinking, well, okay, it's different from their other art, but it doesn't mean to say that their sense of art in any way has diminished. It's just a representation, and sometimes we overanalyze. And I know Pat tittered then, but it's meant to represent another means of them representing themselves, rather than a decline in their sense of art.
It's the expression on his face that I made me laugh. I thought he was frowning. I think he's trying to be fearful.
It's not really working. He's got a big nose like me.
The eyes look the same though, don't they, as the others?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yes, it does. But the other thing as well is the art. This is again another bronze, and you can see that they've stamped designs into it. So this is oh god, there's a certain technique for this. So this has been cast again, but what you do see is that you've stamped into it, which is a very different medium than the other representations that we've been seeing. Now, I may have shown you a glimpse on the screen just then of what's referred to as the chimera of Arezzo. And I just want to show you this, and I know this is going to be familiar to some of you, and I'm very wary of time, so I'm just going to have to gather through. And interestingly enough, there's an Etruscans maker's mark on that, and I tell you what, the ribs, that may be a chimera representation of a beast within a beast, where you've got so if you take this apart, and you just take this apart, and the mane looks very, very, really lifelike, and then you've got a gazelle type deer's like head on the back, and then you've got a snake which is fighting within itself. So a chimera is the usual representation of the made up entity of two different beasts. Or several different beats, and you've got the maker's mark on the leg there, or you've got or the other meaning of that mark is, if I can remember, the inscription of Tania on the chimera's leg. Tania. What's that, Pete?
So the chimera is three of them.
Three, yes.
Yeah, three animals all in one. Yeah.
Chimera, yeah. Sorry, I know I said two, but I remember that there was a program years ago where it was like a human mated with an ape, and it was called, the series was called Chimera. But you are right, yeah, three. So the inscription which is on the leg there is Tania, and I want to just show you another image now. Sorry, we can't dedicate. Well, we could come back to this, but look at the rib bones there. Look at the mane. The detail is perfect. Actually, I'm taking away the meaning from saying, look at the main, and or then you've got the other stuff, and I should be saying, look at the other stuff. It's all lifelike anyway. It's just a made-up beast that is real. It's a made-up beast that's real. Look at those rib bones. Look at those rib bones. Look at all the detail. They're absolutely perfect. And again, maybe we could just do another one on the art from this wonderful world of the Etruscans. This is one thing that I've been really vague about from when we've done this today. This is a high resolution 3D view of an Etruscan hypogeum in Perugia in Italy. And one of the points I wanted to make, and one of the points I've briefly made today, is what you've got is you've got above ground, you've got lots of these cremational urns, yeah, and you've also got lots of the sarcophagi, right? But then you've got the earlier tomb underground, right? So you've got the steps, and that's carved underground in the rock. It's not built underground, it's actually carved into the rock underground, and that represents the house that the Etruscan family would have originally lived in above ground, and what's above is below, you know, as you see me now, you shall be, right? That idea of the sense of medieval death, but it's the Etruscans didn't fear death because they saw death as an extension of their life. And the other thing as well is this is very different from ancient Egyptian. In ancient Egyptian pharaonic tombs, you would seal them up, right? And you would give people all the stuff for their afterlife and all this stuff, right? Sorry to use the word stuff a lot, but when you're trying to get through something, and the Etruscan world underground was meant to be lived. And this is the point. This is, you know, you are not forgotten in the Etruscan world. You are remembered continually. You are meant to be remembered. You have to be remembered. And, you know, I will confess that when we buried my granddad's ashes at the Barry Cemetery, I wanted to go and visit him every week. I've probably only been about 5 or 6 times. But in the Etruscan world, you would visit your loved ones every day. And we know that they visited their loved ones every day, because usually there's a threshold stone at the bottom of the steps, and that's very worn down. So worn down that it's obvious that people had that movement of traffic in and out of the tombs every day or every few days. So that represents what I wanted to show you. And again, this is the art. You need to look at the new Etruscan finds. There's new stuff, and I know we've actually covered it with some other mentions, but you've got this, and this is in an Etruscan tomb, right? And this is not meant to be just for those people in a tomb. This is the same art that was above ground as is down below, is appreciated by you visiting your loved ones. So you are going to see this. It's not a tomb is not the end in the Etruscan world. It's part of life. And hopefully I've demonstrated that, and hopefully this art is bringing that to us again. Again, I've got a series of slides that were taken by Peter Pressford that some of you know. And it was part of my live evenings, which I never did. And maybe if we ever had a call to do another lecture like this, I could bring those images to you. The frescoes that we've just seen actually date to about the 400s. This is the head of a man described as wearing a laurel wreath, dating to about 150 years BC. And I tell you what, that looks very Roman, doesn't it?
Mm.
But that is Etruscan. Can you see what I was trying to get at? That the Romans are influenced by the Etruscans. They don't want to admit it. The Romans hated the Etruscans. They absolutely hated them. They were vile people, the Romans said.
But laurel leaves are an essential for cooking, aren't they? We call them bay leaves, but they are laurel.
Essential to status as well, Pete.
Yes, and for cooking.
Yes,
they're unique flavor for cooking.
I particularly with a good curry, Pete.
Yep.
But he's got a very European face.
Yep.
But that's associated with an Etruscan burial. It is, and there's every indication there that was painted as well.
Yeah.
It's definitely been washed with a tin coat. Oh God, not tin. Tin oxide coat. That's right, tin oxide coat. And then what we've got is two little things, and we're calling it a night. So we've got a pillar that dates to about 200 years BC from San Marco near Perugia, again in Tuscany. And then we'll show you this, and it's going to come up now. Hang on, where are we? This. And you've got more Etruscan writing. And what it would be good to do is one thing I wasn't prepped for, is to, if I could just put in Etruscan alphabet, so you can get a little bit of that at the end, to give another sort of slant on this world, this sort of now lost but now uncovered world of the Etruscans. And if you look at some of their writing and some of their capitals, and I'm gonna try and chuck this in here. Hang on a minute. Here we go. Hang on. I'm gonna do that. I got that ready to go. I got that ready to load. I just want to show you this last one. I know I'm being very vague on these. Hang on. And there you go. This is samples of Etruscan script. This is a set document known as the Liber Lintaeus, and the Liber Lintaeus is basically this is all written on is the longest Etruscan text and the only extant linen book. This is a linen book dated to about 250 years BC. It remains mostly untranslated, again, untranslated because of the lack of knowledge about the Etruscan language, though the few words which can be understood indicate that the text is most likely a ritual calendar. The fabric of the book was preserved when it was used for mummy wrappings in Egypt. How that works. So yeah, so this was preserved because it was used for mummy wrappings in ancient Egypt around 250 years, well, around more or less the time that it was created. So that's a bit odd. Anyway, yes, that needs a bit more explanation. And then the other image I want to show you, I need to do a little bit more looking. Right, yeah, okay. Let's just, yeah, again, that blows my head. And then finally, what I want to do is show you this last image, and then that's it. And new image. Oh, some Etruscan writing. There you go. Apparently, that's that. I remember. Did we not, Andy, say that looked very runic?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly does.
It
Yeah.
certainly does.
We did say that there may be links with Scandinavia, trade links. That looks very runic.
Looks Welsh to me.
Oh, well, it's better than being Celtic, isn't it, Pete?
Well, that is Celtic, isn't it? Yep.
So yes, I wanted to show you that at the end. So we've really gone into our extra time now. So what I'm going to do is we're going to stop the sharing, maybe visit these people again. Andy's fallen asleep. Andy!
I thought it was only me.
You fell asleep, and you can't hear him speaking.
I'll switch my icon. Sorry, I was up very early this morning. So.
My God!
Can we go?
Right, okay then. Right, let's do questions quickly. David, anything you want to ask?
No, thank you. Just
Go on, Dave.
no, thank you.
All right then.
Just want to go to
Have you
bed.
got to go now, Dave?
Going to bed.
Bye-bye.
Good night, Dave.
Sleep
See you
well.
next week, Dave. Oh God, he don't have to go off. What? Okay then, Gina, anything you'd like to say, darling?
No, thank you. It's very interesting. Thank you.
It would be nice to have heard what Anne had to say, but she's gone now. Margaret.
What's the oldest skeleton that they've found, or mummy?
They're still making new discoveries. So, you use the word mummy. They're not mummifying, but what we've got is that we've got the linen wrappings, which have got the libris on, and were actually used with a mummy in ancient Egypt. So somebody must have thought, oh, this looks good, we'll wrap a mummy with this.
I just wondered if anybody's checked the teeth for the strontium to see where they originate from.
That's your homework for next week, Margaret.
Oh,
Yeah, DNA.
You'll have to find a tooth first.
Well, they've been analysing these bodies anyway, so they're getting somewhere. Pat.
Yes, I have a couple of questions. Could you show once again the picture of the nice couple, side by side reclining?
Is this a good idea? Because we're not going to leave. Okay.
I can find it. I just think it was just it looked like wood to me, and you say it's terracotta?
It is terracotta, yeah. You can clearly see it's being created in
two pieces. Do you think they painted it?
Oh yeah, definitely. I would go. I would say without
like the
doubt.
Roman statues that all the paint fell off. Yeah.
Yeah. Whilst I've got this up here now, so we can. I don't know if it's going to be as big, but there we go. It's on screen now. There we are.
Ah.
And where do you say it is? Where is it?
This is in I think the description is there. I do believe this is still in Italy, but yeah.
Gorgeous.
It is gorgeous, yeah.
And just one question, that tri-animal thing.
The chimera, yeah.
Yeah, how did they find a lion in Italy? Did they bring it in from Africa or somewhere? To carve it, you have to have seen it.
There would have been examples still in Europe at that stage. There would have been. Yes.
Really?
Mountain lion, yes.
Okay. And one last question.
I'm gonna say we still there are still examples, I think, still rarely wandering around northern Iran somewhere, I think.
Oh, right. Okay. That soldier, his eye looked white with a black pupil. Was that a painting, or did they put a stone in, or?
Well, the weird one.
Warrior.
Yeah, the weird one. Yeah, he had I think it was him.
No.
He had or was it the first one? The first soldier. I don't know who's the soldier.
That one there.
Someone had a white eye.
The skinny one.
I don't know. Maybe I got it confused.
That one there.
Can't see it. I see the women.
That one.
Oh no, he doesn't have black and white eyes. It must have been the very first one you showed us with the leather top on, you know, that wasn't leather, but
Oh,
looked like
right.
one.
Yeah. Hang on. The bronze.
Oh, it was bronze. Okay.
There.
It does. Those eyes look.
He does. He does have. I think it's. It might actually be marble setting. Yes, he has. He does.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, inlaid.
They have. There is settings in there. Yeah, there is settings. Yeah.
Got real eyes.
Well, I really enjoyed it. Thank you very, very much.
My pleasure. Right. Anyone else want to say anything quickly before we go, Andy?
No, can never have enough of the Etruscans. Thank you.
Yeah. As you can see, I went off on so many. Weirdly enough, I can go on tangents with the Etruscans when I'm talking about the Etruscans. Yeah. Sandra, keep it brief. Anything you want to say?
No.
That's unlike you. What about you, Pete?
Well, yeah, we look at their prevalence for the leaf, the crown of laurel leaves. And that goes from the Romans, but also the Etruscans as well. And when I was in Italy, they used laurel as we use privet around the edges.
Yeah.
And I've got a big bay tree in my garden. And I pick the bay trees and I use them in cooking quite a lot because of their unique flavor.
Yeah.
And the actual scent from those leaves is quite strong.
But
And
we
a
have,
crown of laurel leaves would be have quite a perfume to it.
we have laurel bushes here, though, don't we?
Yeah.
Bay trees and laurel
Bay
trees.
trees, aren't they
Yeah.
different?
Yeah, we call it a bay tree. That's right.
No, they're different.
Oh, we got laurel
Yeah.
trees. They got bigger leaves and they don't
Yeah.
smell.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
And they grow really fast, laurels do.
they do. They make
Yeah.
a scream.
bay tree is a laurel tree.
Well, they're
Yeah.
different. I got one in the front and one in the back, and they look alike.
I'm not getting involved in this.
Go to the garden center.
I'm not getting involved.
Different.
Not getting involved.
Well,
Right. Okay.
There are probably two types of laurel,
Yeah.
a bay laurel and a bush laurel, you know.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do. That's a good compromise. We'll do that. Why can't politics be like this? We'll all agree. But Boris Johnson, he's a good old stick. Yeah.
He knows his
Idiot.
thing, doesn't he?
He's an idiot.
He knows how to talk more crap than I do.
Yeah.
That's why he's a prime minister and I'm not.
That could be it.
Could be it. That could be it. Right. Any other questions before we go?
Did
But
they
we
have,
do-
go on, Pete?
No.
Go on. You got the last question, Margaret.
I just wondered if they had funerary goods.
Yes.
Did they? Because we didn't see any.
We didn't see a lot of things. I just couldn't do it all.
All right, do again.
And
do it again.
actually, can I say the funerary goods were also representative as relief carvings inside the tombs.
Ah,
Ooh,
So you this is a new concept in funerary
Yeah.
goods.
that's unusual.
Oh,
Yeah.
So in other words, they were fixed funerary goods. So you could have your whole set of pots and pans alongside you carved into the stone
oh,
what about you
Yeah.
cremating people?
rather,
Some-
rather than portable.
right.
Oh.
Oh, I'm going to have that.
No.
Were some people cremated and some just buried? Is that?
Yeah, some were
buried?
cremated and some were buried. Yeah, usually cremated. Yes.
But the big fancy ones maybe were wealthier people or
People.
more important.
People who had money to pay for the tombs, you didn't necessarily need to be wealth. This is the point. You might have somebody who were quite lowly, but they managed to save a lot of money to bury somebody. Do you know what I mean? So it's not necessarily a representative of rich people in society. You see it today, right? There's gypsy burial grounds that I know of. There's one at St. Andrew's Major. I think Pete knows the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And you go in, there's a gypsy, and people have got tombs, and these are gypsies that and they really spend a lot of money on their tombstones and stuff. But it doesn't mean to say that they were the Corries of the world. Why
The
should
one
it
just off
always,
the
you know?
A48.
Exactly.
Mm.
So
I've
right,
been to a couple of humanist funerals recently, and they're far superior to the religious ones.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
that's one of those.
Me too. I've been to one.
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, then. On that note,
Happy day.
we will see you all next week for the Newport boat. And if there's no other questions from Drina, Margaret, Andy, Pat, Pete, and Sandra, I will bid you all good night, and I will see you all next week. And Sandra, it's been great seeing you again.
Yes, glad you're feeling well.
Yeah,
Hope
well,
you're feeling well. She obviously must be feeling well because you haven't shut up.
no, no.
Anyway, night, folks.
So long.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Thanks
Carl.
for joining
Good
us.
night.
It's been a pleasure. And Idris. Night, Idris. Bye.
Bye.
Good night. Good night.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.